Well, the sun has just gone down in Minneapolis. It's that time of year where the sun goes down in Minneapolis at 6:30. And here it is, Twin Cities Playtest. Welcome, one and all. Um, I'm here. I'm Mark LaCroix. I'm here with Dale LaCroix. Um,
Hello!
and our normal co-host Lane Davis. He's out sick today.
Oh
So we're
no!
gonna make sure we run a tight ship so when he watches later, he can be proud of us. Um, but we got two games lined up for tonight. I think due to Lane's absence and our lineup, I think we're going to maybe keep it short tonight. Um, but what's been nice when we have three or fewer games is we get to spend a lot of time with each of them. So I think we're gonna go for that tonight. I think.
Yay!
And so we have Zach with us here, who brought in a game.
Oh.
But according to our schedule, you're not going first. But maybe we need to just reorganize the schedule and put your game first.
Hmm.
What do you say?
Uh,
Oh, I spoke too soon. Trevor is here. And so, hello. So your game is up first tonight. Is that right? That's the
Yep.
plan. And it's Moirah's Manor. Am I saying that
Yes.
right? All right.
Yep, exactly right.
Dale, you wanted to play that one?
I am fine with playing that one, but why don't we let people know how, if they would like to play something, they can join?
Oh, yes, of course. If you would like to play either of our games tonight, the instructions are in the IGDA Twin Cities Discord. It's pretty simple. You just download Parsec, which is a desktop sharing app that's really designed for remote gameplay. And you connect to the computer Twin Cities Playtest after you become friends with IDGATC. It's all in the instructions in the events info channel in the IGGA Twin Cities Discord, and you can get to that Discord if you're not there already, discord.igdatc.org. Was that a good recitation of the instructions, would you say, Dale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the important thing is you remember what Parsec is called, because I forget its name all the time. It's P-A-R-S-E-C. Wait, no, S-E-C? An ek is not a regular letter.
I'll check on that, but I think you're correct. I think it is not a regular letter.
It might be a Greek letter. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I didn't say X, so we're good there. And drop us a line in the chat on the YouTube if you want to join, and we will invite you to join, because
Yeah.
we're always happy to have members of our community playtest instead of just us.
That is correct. But Zach is here early, so Zach will give you an opportunity right of first refusal if you want to play Trevor's game before we put Dale onto it. What do you say?
I would love to. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, why don't you go ahead and... Oh, there you are. You're joining.
Oh, yeah, I joined already. You should probably kick me off, Mark.
Now,
I got excited about Parsec.
now, Trevor, is this a gamepad or mouse and keyboard?
Mouse and keyboard.
Mouse and keyboard. Okay. That means I'm going to have to give Zach that control. So let me switch over to the game.
Okay. And then as long as we kind of have a lull here, I was going to say, if somebody wants to join to play Zach's game, you want to give a little preview of what it is, I will tell you, it's called Untitled Card Game.
Very descriptive.
I believe you might have some suggestions by the time the night is over.
Okay. We're open to suggestions.
All right. Let me give you mouse and keyboard controls. And it's in your hands now.
Well, my first thought here is this actual settings? This is volume. This is a game jam game, right?
Yep, this was made for LD51, which is, I guess, still going on right now.
It's impressive to have a settings menu in a game jam, period.
Yeah.
Well,
Big win for you there.
It's one setting, so it's a setting menu, right?
It's a setting.
Yeah.
Singular, yeah.
Yeah, I will just quick preface, if I may. So this is my third game jam doing Ludum Dare, but I did it with a bunch of my friends who have neither made games nor tried to make games ever. So that was a really fun experience, just like trying to teach people how to use Unity and get into the game design mindset. But yeah, so I just want to give that little shout out there.
All right, so most game jams have prompts and themes. Do you want to share with us what Ludum Dare 51? Is that right? 51?
Yep.
Prompt was?
The prompt was every 10 seconds, which we kind of tried to do something with, but we got very sidetracked and almost immediately.
That's fair.
Is there any camera controls, or is it?
No,
just
there is not.
Okay.
I think Zach got lost already.
Looks like you've run into the darkness.
Is that not something I'm supposed to do?
Mm,
It does seem on brand for the game, but
it is not probably what you'd like to do. So the game is like a sort of like an adventure puzzle game
Oh,
where you are trying to figure out how to escape Moira's Manor without her catching you first. And so the gameplay design here is very much like a kind of like a mystery escape room puzzle game where you gotta kind of try and figure out where you need to go and how you can progress. There's like hints scattered throughout the level and puzzle things for you to solve.
So, Zach, right now, are you using keyboard?
yeah.
Okay. And I was just going to suggest you move the mouse from the middle of the screen for a bit of better viewing experience, but I see you are now hovering over those numbers.
yeah, the lack of camera controls gives it a kind of a Resident Evil or Luigi's Mansion kind of vibe. So it doesn't, even though you may, when you first start controlling it, I was testing this earlier. You're like, oh, I wish I could rotate the camera. You quickly like adapt to the world that it's in. It's like this is the world it is. I'm just
Well, that's math.
carnal directions.
8.
It's also an educational game.
I don't have any. 2.
And yeah, just so you're aware, the controls are WASD to move, space to jump, and then the number of keys 1 through 6 to activate items that you may find. And then you
Just
can also
clicking these isn't doing something.
it would if you had something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a thing you don't learn right away. This is one of those things that jam games have, which is like it's always harder to. You usually have to explain them a little bit because you don't have the. I mean, you've got a settings menu, so sky's the limit. But yeah, I didn't know at first like, oh, these buttons do things, but oh, they're actually just inventory, and they only do things when there's something in them. And normally you'd spend a lot of time on the UX of that. Demonstrating that this is a container for an object.
Ah.
Oh, what is that?
No.
Oh!
I think your instinct immediately is just to run.
Okay.
So now you do have the teddy bear in the 1 slot.
Does that summon a child?
Like all teddy bears.
Oh, hi, Moirah.
Huh.
I don't think I have another exit.
So did the teddy bear go into the 1 slot because it's the first thing that was picked up, or because it's the thing that goes in the 1 slot?
The first thing that I was picked up.
Okay. So I was thinking about that 213 on the wall, like maybe that's a sequence of objects, but if it doesn't matter, or if the order is that you pick things up is where the numbers go, then that may not apply. And that spook slowly chasing you in the back there, that's Moirah, I assume?
Yes, that is Moirah.
One way I know this is a jam game is that you did not update the near plane clipping mask on the Unity camera.
Well, it's funny you say that because we were messing around with it.
Oh yeah?
Secret underground area.
Because we weren't sure how to go about like hiding the walls in front of the player because we do have that fixed camera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried a couple different things, and this was like the simplest one.
Right.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
a surprisingly hard problem.
Oh yeah.
Like games go through do a lot of like shader work and stuff to make those like really clean look through stuff effects.
And some of the
Yeah.
highest budget AAA games still don't do it right. It's
Yeah.
and I think gamers give I mean, they'll notice it, but I think there's a sort of a, it's like a,
Ah!
it's a
Oh, I
convention
wasn't
of the
supposed to touch
of the medium that you're gonna have a little jank there, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, what happened there is you have HP, and unfortunately ran into too many hazards.
Was not supposed to touch that. That's a cool effect opener there.
Yeah, that was one of my friends. Basically spent half the jam just working on that title page because he, again, didn't have a lot of experience coming into it and was just having fun with it. So I'll give you a little hint. That door to your right there has some buttons on it.
Oh. Oh, is that health? Is that what those rags are?
Yes,
Oh, they're like bandages.
exactly.
What's that?
Do I have an angry? Oh, hey. This seems like a. Oh. Okay. I think I got that. That
two,
was
1, 3.
the code over in the corner there. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
right? I
Yep.
did just click that randomly, but
And then you recognize what you randomly clicked.
Whoa!
yeah. Oh, that's a hazard.
Yeah, and that's it's definitely one thing that we kind of got the puzzles and like the hints in the game, and we're like, these are all very okay. They could be better, but you know, this will do for now.
Woo!
You fell.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't
Oh,
fall.
it's
I
actually a
went
staircase.
downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably not an item. I'm getting a hang of this.
That's bad.
And yeah, and all of the art was done by the teammates. One person focused on like the characters, and then the other person focused on like the environment stuff. But they did all of it. So there's nothing in here except for a door that we didn't.
Hey, math problem.
Hard.
So I don't know if you saw it, but there was two equations in that room.
Oh, he looks so sad. Like, uh-oh, I don't know the answer.
Are you trying to get it down to exactly 0, or are you trying to get it into the result of one of the equations?
I was going for 8
Mm-hmm.
because that was the result. Yeah. Am I missing something obvious here?
The other one was 2 to the 2 squared plus 2, so 6 was the other one, right?
Yep. So there was actually 2 numbers there.
With the
So maybe thinking about it this way, how can you enter 2 numbers into a place that only has 1 number spot?
Just make it a each one a digit, so it'd be like 68 or 86.
Seems clever.
If you do
I
say
don't
so
know.
yourself.
Yeah, except me, I don't know if, well, I guess if you were a child ghost thing, maybe that's how you would do it.
And
I think Moira's on the that
Oh no! Run away.
the music tell as
yeah,
she
I
drives
don't get that.
And I will say this is one of the design things that we realized after the jam ended is that like for solving some of these puzzle doors, if Moira comes to you while you're solving it, then you kind of have this weird game of like, okay, now I have to like lure her away to give myself enough time to actually solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
So definitely some improvements to be made there.
Oh, it gives us time to go grab a teddy bear. So, that didn't unlock as 86. So presumably it's the other way around.
Yep.
213.
Because their position on the wall.
Yeah. I don't know where the
So you have six inventory slots. Are there 6 items to collect?
There are only 4.
Okay.
We had grand ambitions, I will
Right,
say.
Well, a lot of time with jam games, you build a system and then you only have so much time to populate it with content.
Yep.
So that's pretty standard for a jam experience.
There's the child.
Is that maybe like a decoy? Is that how you would use that? Because the ring is like it gives you a little bit of a flashlight. It seems like that's its benefit. So you don't run into things as easily.
that must be for running into the darkness.
Yeah, I guess as much.
There you are. Hello.
You sort of can't help but like go towards all the little stationary objects, even though some of them will hurt you.
Yeah.
Oh, the child is carrying a teddy bear.
Okay. So, I mean, some feedback you don't really need because it's, you probably know this already, but like just some of the player communication bits. So, like once Zach got 68, it didn't actually show. It said 72 and then cut to the door opening, and so the sort of that feedback is a little bit missing. But I'm sure you sort of know what's missing in that stuff.
Wait, what's that? Oh,
Okay, so there's a door down there. This is
it's an axe.
on the
So
space.
there's plenty of these wooden things that have been blocking your path elsewhere.
Ooh. Use that.
The children's drawings on them are very creepy.
They can't seem to. Do they have cooldowns?
Yes. Yep. They have. Who would have guessed that every 10 seconds you can use your items?
Ah.
But yeah, we didn't quite get in the feedback there of like why. So that was a miss. Definitely something that we learned working on this game was just the prioritization of like player feedback. Was something that we like didn't spend enough time on initially. So I think that'll be one thing we do differently next time.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone was very excited about like making the game feel a certain way and like look a certain way. And having never made a game before, I knew it was not going to result in exactly what we wanted, but they were having so much fun. It's hard to be like, don't do this or don't do that. But
Stop making it so spooky.
and I will say one other thing that we have on the jam page that you didn't get just jumping into the game like this is all of the objects in Moirah's Manor are cursed, but you don't know what those curses do. And that was kind of
pretty sure that cursed teddy bear summons a creepy child. So, oh, there's the rat. So I was gonna say, since this is a Ludum Dare game, you have uploaded it to the Ludum Dare site. Would you like me
Yep.
to put that in that
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
chat? Okay, let's see what I can do.
It's just health. Okay. Okay. I dig that. I needed some of that. Hello. Creeping off into the distance. It's good atmosphere.
It's really effective to see Moirah just inch towards you that far away, because especially as you start to get a handle on the systems, because you know you're not in danger, but you know you got to keep your eye on it, you know.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of those games because we're kind of thinking of trying to continue iterating on it, which is one of the reasons why I brought it here today, is trying to figure out exactly what that right balance is of like the pressure from the monster and like the difficulty of the puzzles and things like that. Not sure how to balance those things other than playtesting, but definitely interested in feedback in that area.
Yeah, I think what this game is missing is a kind of a risk-reward mechanic. Right now, it's a scavenger hunt, and I think it's pretty effective as that. But then when, like you were saying, when Moirah shows up, and you sort of have to lead her away so you can get back to where you are, that's where you can start adding some of that risk-reward. Like you can have, if you use an item, maybe Moirah starts towards you faster. Or maybe if you use a different item, you're more visible to Moirah, so you can't sneak by her as easily. Things like that to sort of, especially as in a horror atmosphere, to give the player some interesting choices to make in terms of how much they want to put themselves at risk to maybe speed up their process. You know.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting way to go about it. Of just like, yeah, it's the risk reward of like, how fast do you want to do this thing you're trying to do?
Yeah, and there's video games are power fantasies, but horror games tend to have a difficult time with that balance, because what you want to do is, as you get more things and become more familiar with the layout of the space, less scared of the dark, and have more weapons or more objects that give you more powers or more capabilities. I think a good way to balance that is to give the player put more demands on the player to responsibly use those things. Because if they just start, employing all the new abilities they get, it should cause their demise to come faster, Yeah,
and I will say, I don't know if you caught it, but there was another hint in the basement with 3 cubes.
Yeah, I remember seeing it, but I do not remember.
It was purple in the bottom left, purple in the middle, and then white in the top right.
Yeah, I think my instinct is like, I'd rather sit for 3 minutes try to remember it than go all the way to the basement again.
Yeah, and one of the things we're working on actually right now is like a journal system. So like as you discover these hints, it'll just record them for you, and then put them back up on the page. So you're very close there.
There was. If I am close, I am not sure how so.
The sort of turned cubes you had seen in that room to your left there. Should be blue, purple, yellow.
That seems like.
That noise.
Am I being slowed down by an effect?
Yes.
Okay, I can't hear that. So.
It does have an audio cue for it, but
yeah. Yeah, I can't hear that over parsec, so.
Oh.
Yeah, those 2 cue patterns, I don't know how they go together.
There's too many colors for.
FYI, Zach, I hear the Moirah noise.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
So you're very close. The idea with the cube patterns
Oh.
is that they are both on the same grid, and so since you know where the two of the magenta ones are, the other pattern you found can only be in one orientation if you rotate it. It was the idea there. So you're very close.
Is gray blank then?
Yeah.
Ah, that's the missing information.
Oh, it's not. There is a white part on the button. There's a white button.
No,
so
I know,
the top
I know,
left
but
would be blue.
Right. Well, then maybe I don't have the answer then.
If white's supposed to be so like white's supposed to be an off state essentially.
Right. So the white cube in the basement was misleading Zach a little bit because I think that's supposed to be yellow now.
Pink. Come on.
No, it's that. So like the
Whoa.
top left is supposed to be blue and the bottom right is supposed to be yellow. And then the other three cubes are kind of that diagonal of like the purple, and then white.
Okay. Oh, so white isn't an off state then?
No.
Okay.
And I think
didn't
tilting
get
that
that.
other clue was a little confusing,
Uh,
so top left would be blue and then bottom right would be yellow.
Right. So it wasn't just the three cubes in a V shape that needed to be rotated. It's the pattern in the basement also needed to be rotated.
no, okay, I see. That being in like an outside section is kind of confused. It was what confused me. Or it kind of seems like that middle one's supposed to be the middle one.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see. Yep.
But yeah, I see how you get to that solution. It's just a dead
So
end,
with Moirah chasing you down, I wonder if the health mechanic
key. I don't know
and Moirah are two different ways to lose. I would question why you need both of them.
Oh, that one gets you because you can't see him until the thing pops in.
Yep.
Yeah, the popping in walls is not an intentional mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the idea with having both systems was that the thought at least was Moirah is going to be this constant like looming threat that's going to put stress on the player, and then the health system is like, crap, I made a mistake, I ran into something I knew I shouldn't have ran into because I'm stressed.
Ooh, got to play lights out.
Oh, wow. So many more cubes.
Good at those puzzles.
Nailed
Oh,
it.
I thought
But
it
yeah,
was going to be more like the other one.
Or have you? Nice. Well, I would make the point that like the
Let me take you to my
if Moirah
galaxy.
is
Say goodbye to all your
the
worries.
looming threat, then like yeah, do you need a health and recovery system at all, or should you just be on the lookout for signs of Moirah? And then what should hurt you, quote unquote, is the curses that slow you down or the mistakes that lead you into dead ends. That should put you on edge of being more at risk of losing.
oh, okay, sure.
Rather than having low hit points. Now, you could go the other way too. You could have, well, this is a dangerous manor. You could step on a rusty nail. A rat can run by, and you have to just be on your effing toes, all the time. But then having Moirah on top of that actually is not necessary anymore. Then it becomes much more a matter of like managing yourself against all the unseen threats. Because Moirah is like an instant kill, and it feels separate from that kind of. It's a wholly separate sense of dread, and so I would say lean into one or the other and make one system or the other system more compelling and intricate, rather than having the two systems to provide that depth. If that makes sense.
So I will say, watching, I liked having the two systems. How did it feel, Zach, playing the game of having the rat and the slime and the other things that could slowly get your health first, and Moira tracing you?
I mean, at first it was super unintuitive just because I could not tell. Like, I mean, it makes sense that you don't put rats in your inventory, but like, I don't know that. Like, I played a lot of point-and-click adventure games, and
And rats
it gets
sometimes
weird.
are inventory.
So like, I super couldn't tell between like items and like furniture and stuff that damages you, like especially like those cocoons that are just kind of look like set piece until you get hit by them.
Wait, those cocoon things, I thought they were like wrapped up furniture.
No, they're supposed to be spider like
Okay.
cocoons, spider webs.
I mean, I wasn't playing, so I wasn't paying as close attention, but
It did in some ways kind of ratchet up the tension of moving, because Moira's not really that scary. It's just kind of like a forces you to leave rooms kind of presence, but like you can kite around and walk away from Moira pretty easily. So like having stuff that you could walk into, especially when your like vision is so coned and you're just a little slidey, does add like I think some kind of level of tension. I think if it was a little clearer, if not like on the first time you hit something that something was dangerous, like something that was more like in retrospect I really shouldn't have touched that kind of like theming, like the way like traps are in some games.
Gotcha.
With like a big button, I feel like that might feel a little better, but I don't hate the concept of like just having another health system to kind of have a different threat other than Moira.
Dale, did you want to run through it?
Yes, I did.
Because
Hold
you
on.
happily you mentioned how you weren't paying attention, so that should be very useful.
Well, you know, like I can't pay that much attention because I'm watching it a little bit behind.
Yeah.
On the stream, so sometimes I'm not getting all the clues just because they're not coming at me immediately.
Well, let me give you mouse and keyboard controls, and it's all
All
yours.
right, excellent.
Keep the volume down to 1. Thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could, if you wanted to, I could share with you the build that randomizes the placement of all the items. Just take me a minute here.
Well, I think
No,
we're okay.
I don't know where they were. I was lost in that.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm gonna press the credit. Oh.
I get sound now. Okay, I get to your sound. That was on my end.
Okay, yeah.
I
'cause
feel like the
can
game
hear
would
it
be
too.
much less good without the sound design.
Yeah, that is. I mean, especially for a GM game, like I think it is very effective of setting the atmosphere, but also those cues, when Moira comes to you, are extremely effective. And I can imagine a built-out version of this game would use a lot of that type of cues for lots of other things as well. So I think that's a big strength of the thing.
Yeah, they're a little bit more effective than I hear the Moira sound.
Yeah. That'll be an option in the setting, just for you, voice to come on and be like, "Hey, by the way, the monster's nearby."
Hey. Oh dear. Okay, you seem bad. Go this way.
Yeah, no, I definitely like the sound.
Okay, there's the thing that says 213, which I'm totally remembering. Okay, this is a potted plant. This has a hole in the pot.
Oh, I never even made it into that room to the right there.
Right, well, oh, it's boarded up.
Oh, that's.
It says.
There's the hint for the lights out board.
Oh,
played a lot of lights out.
Yep.
Okay, there is my 13 minus 9 equals 4 times 2 is 8. Oh, here's the couch. Seems like a good place to chill. Nope, I still just look scared in front of the couch.
Oh, and you stepped on something dangerous.
Oh crap! I didn't even see it.
Yeah, well,
It
that's
did make
one
a
of the
noise.
reasons, yeah.
Oh, here's the thing though. It's the teddy bear.
So
Okay.
did we learn what the teddy bear does?
It summons that creepy child.
Well, I mean, I guess I knew that, but
Anything else? Oh.
So it does have one effect, though it didn't end up quite hitting the mark. The little girl will lead you to hints.
I saw that actually.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I wasn't sure if it was like an act because like people claim that in games a lot for things that don't actually do that. Like
Right.
people are like constantly talking about how the animals in Skyrim
Oh,
lead you to
yep,
things when
yep.
if you follow them long enough. And it's just no, there's enough stuff in Skyrim that you'll eventually hit something. So I wasn't sure if that's what was going on, but I saw that a couple of times. It did follow the kid
Oh,
to
phew.
one of the clues.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Right now, she will actually path between all clues you currently can walk to, which is somewhat helpful, but
Can I
not all
not
the way
go
helpful.
through this door?
It's pretty effective. It makes a lot of sense that I didn't notice that because I wasn't in control of the character.
No,
so,
you cannot.
That feels like a pretty good. And that Zach picked up on it was good because it's that sort of subtle discovery of a mechanic. So I like that a lot.
Oh no! She's coming through the wall at me. Okay,
So you keep missing the other clue because it's just out of your viewport.
Okay, let me go find it. Okay. Oh, hello.
Yeah, that is much darker.
Yeah, yeah. You kind
think
of expect it to
so.
have the same light on it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's sort of like a taxonomy of objects in video games. You sort of expect like and like, you know. I mean, if you want to confound that, I think that's perfectly fine. But you have to kind of like let the player understand that.
Okay, I hear her. She's there.
So can you jump over things that hurt you? Can you jump a rat?
I can jump.
Could you jump a rat?
I believe you can. I think the hitboxes are not quite good enough to make that actually like satisfying to do, but you should be able to. The jumping was more just like somebody that was building the movement was like, hey, I want to add a jump, so
Right.
they did.
Yeah.
Okay, this looks like the child's drawing. Okay, that is the thing. Wait, is this where I came in? Probably.
Yeah.
Here, okay, there's that cuckoo thing that I'm not gonna touch because I know about it now. Okay, I save this up.
Yeah, other than just like picking more like obvious.
Oh!
Whoa, what was that?
It was a noise, but it didn't seem to hurt you.
Maybe because I already had band-aids for it.
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask like other than making the hazards more obviously like dangerous, like is there another way to convey that something is dangerous to touch?
Well, I mean, right now it's just a sprite. You know what I mean? And so you're not using any other communication tools. So it's not animated. It's not moving. It doesn't, I don't know, glow red. You know, I mean, there's plenty of crude and/or subtle ways to indicate danger. I mean, some ways, you know, you have kind of a guided experience. Like you could harm the player and then heal them, like in kind of a scripted event early in the game to kind of just let them know this is what happens. But it's sort of it's like a pretend tutorial, you know. It's like a tutorial in disguise, where you sort of like you ensure that they get healed from the damage, so they don't feel like cheated.
Oh,
You make sure they get hurt, so that they understand that something can hurt you. I'm not sure what the right approach is, especially for a game like this. I mean, there's nothing wrong with in a horror game, kind of putting the player on the back foot, and so letting them discover it and sort of feel like, well, this isn't fair. I didn't know. Well, yeah, it's a horror game. You're not supposed to know. I think that I don't think players will revolt.
That was close.
If you did it. Yeah, it
Yeah,
sure was.
like I am dying. I don't like that.
I think making them more like visibly threatening is in multiple ways of like if you go like the animation approach, you can have it like when you get into range, like make a noise and like swing at you like as a
like
threat.
Like the spider things shake or vibrate a little.
Yeah,
2,
yeah.
1, 3, 3, 3. Ark, I can't click this. What's going on?
Oh,
Shit.
I think you triggered the animation, but it just took a while to start.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know why it was so delayed like that.
I think it's the
That's
same
fine.
issue that when Zach opened the door in the basement, it's just
It just
it didn't give you the visual feedback, even though it was working.
Gotcha. Okay. I need this because I'm really dying.
I will also say the bandages don't seem like health because they're already bloodied, and so
Yeah.
they almost seem like they would be bad for you, and they kind
I
of
did not realize they healed me. I thought I was picking up an item and was confused it wasn't in my inventory the first time I got one.
It does look a little just bit like paper towels too, so there's just some.
Yep.
Some of that is scale, right?
They're huge.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now it's time to do this thing. Where we go up, up, down.
Can you actually hit it from that far away? You don't have to be zoomed in.
It did okay. Woo! I did so much better at that. Meaning quicker because I saw you do that. That I was paying attention to a little bit, but not enough to know.
Yeah, no, all the buttons are they're just whatever.
Are they
Looking
just
for
random?
for colliding events from the mouse, so you can hit them from anywhere.
From across the room, that's funny.
Wait, what's that thing?
That's
Will
all
this hurt
state.
me?
I assume that's where Moirah sleeps.
Isn't that where the
Oh.
key was? Am I remembering Zach's run?
I don't think
Mm,
there was
no.
anything on there.
No,
Okay.
that's empty.
That's Moira's bed. Okay, cool.
One thing we didn't know at all when making this game is that how like materials in Unity work. So like I've only made a few games in Unity and I hadn't done much with the materials, so that's why like everything's shiny.
Yeah.
Because we just picked one that like lit the sprites correctly and then didn't do anything else with it. So that's
Oh, I need to summon this child to tell me where shit is. Come here, child. Tell me where stuff is.
yeah, weird.
You can go in that door to the left, I think, can't you? Was that actually a door?
This.
Keep a little farther left.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little hard to see with the.
Ah!
Oh, and the key was right there
rats.
too. So I think, I mean, just to further my argument about health, I think like the rat is effective in that it scares you, and so I think a future version of this game could just have more jump scares, and rather than take 16 points off your health, you know, and it would still serve that function.
Yeah, one other thing we thought of is that like we could have the like kind of like an abstract health like some games like Amnesia do, where like when you get hurt, just like more weird stuff happens, or like it makes the monster stronger or appear more frequently. That was kind of our other thought to do with health, rather than just having it like kill you.
Right.
You can also have rats chase you,
No.
but like only in their like little range, so they're not chasing you across the map.
Oh, okay.
You know how many more frames of animation that is for a moving rat? Ugh.
Well, they do have spinners.
I guess we could have just like slid the rat around the ground
Yeah,
at you.
yeah.
Don't touch that.
Yeah, so like the future direction for this, like where we kind of wanted this to be like sort of like an arcadey kind of escape room experience.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I mentioned earlier the randomization of like where the items are and the different routes. So that's kind of the direction we're thinking of going with the game, is to kind of make it like an arcade like speed run sort of experience where you play these levels and they're random, and then basically adding different
run into a rat at any time.
at any time.
You know, I'm thinking about those escape room mechanics, the sort of find the clue, apply the clue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, or find the clue, find the door, apply the clue to the puzzle. You know, it is a little multi-step, and I think you could have a lot of fun making some really complicated multi-part puzzles here.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, well, why is the mansion so big? Like, you know what I mean? I think the when I think of an escape room, one of the things about an escape room that's effective is it's just a room. Like it's not necessarily worried about you going around the corner to find the puzzle. It's usually more about like opening the cupboard door to find the puzzle. And so, I mean, in a video game, the analog is, you know, you have much cruder movements, right? So in the next room is as you know, as the same basically. But I think I don't know that you necessarily need it to the manor to also be a maze. But I mean, Moirah chasing you is part of that, and so I guess the question is like what components are most important, and which components are not important to that sort of core idea that you're trying to do.
I have something to say about this screen, which is, so this is a dead plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inside of a pot that's colored on and also broken, but there are scary bat / mice eyes inside of it.
Well, I mean, it was a creepy child.
Yeah, but the creepy child wouldn't have put its pet mice in it. So my point is that this plant should hurt me.
I see.
Gotcha.
Okay.
It does.
Oh my gosh!
Look similarly dangerous.
There's so many rats in this room.
It's a bad rat room.
Oh, there's another one.
There are lots.
Can I use it on a rat? Like, I shall summon you, rat. Okay, wait. This is not a door, but there's a rat on the other side. Okay. Oop. Rat. Don't touch the rat.
I do like the sort of point and click mechanics you've got going, right? So you get an axe, but yeah, the axe only works on these boards. It doesn't work. You can't knock down walls or doors or Moirah or rats.
Nobody's tried it on Moirah yet.
That's true.
It could work.
Even though that is like unrealistic and silly, like it tracks with this kind of gameplay.
Yeah, we do think that if we can figure out how to design it right, it'd be cool to have some items that are sort of multi-purpose, like to kind of have like different, you know, we want to have different ways to maybe solve some of the puzzles. Not exactly sure how to do that.
You want to be careful with that because you want players to have a solid understanding of what they can do.
Ah!
And if things can do multiple things, then the question is never fully answered for a player, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they end up doing the thing you do in a lot of point and click games, which is point and click at everything with everything, which can get tedious. So having it be a little bit more precise, this does this.
Okay, you know, that's actually a really good counter argument to having the items retain a specific purpose. So no, I appreciate the insight.
Ah.
Side of the door.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very confused by that. Okay, here are my things. Oh.
One simple way to clue the player into the orientation part of the challenge is to just have the cubes on the floor, kind of at 31 degrees or whatever, you know, rather than at 135 degrees instead of 45. You know what I mean? Like, just to let you know that it's not exactly the angle it should be at.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
I do like the sound feedback for when I bust through some boards.
Yeah, this is definitely the most sound effects and like sound design that I've done in a jam game before, and that was, you know, a big part. Just like my friends that I did this with were just very into that aspect.
Yeah.
Which is really cool though, because now it makes me want to do it for all my other games.
Yeah, you realize how important it can be and how much it can do for your project. That you spend so much time trying to get the visuals to do this job when a sound effect will do it faster and better.
good in this room, right?
You know,
Oh.
I don't think this is the intent, but like the you know, the wrapped up for, you know, the cobwebs and the rats that don't move, and because everything is a little billboard sprite in 3D space, I almost think it would be interesting to theme this game where it's like a quote unquote haunted mansion that was like in the suburbs, like that someone. So these are all just little standees that make it, you know, quote unquote spooky, but that it is really haunted by a demon, and so you would make Moirah like a grotesque, fully animated 3D, you know, specter, but then everything else would just be a cardboard cutout.
Kind of
I
fall
love
over
it.
when you bump into them.
Yeah, exactly right.
So yeah, you get out of the basement and then you went back into the basement from the other direction.
This is a crazy mansion that has too many staircases.
It's only 2. I mean,
Yeah, that
your
seems
mansion
normal
gets
for a
big
mansion.
enough. You need to.
I guess one should look like the servant staircase.
Right.
So I know that it's going to the same place.
Right, you want to do a lot of environmental storytelling about the upstairs, downstairs of it all.
How much architecture work did you do when you put this together?
Very little.
Okay.
So there's just like boarded up rooms. Okay, so I'm gonna go upstairs because I'm assuming since you said you just went downstairs again, that means that there's something upstairs.
One of the things that was really effective about Luigi's Mansion is that every room was, you know, had its own little mini story in it, you know, its own themed, and it sort of hid the fact that it was ridiculous to have that many rooms and hallways in even a mansion. I mean, that takes a lot of art direction, obviously, but it sort of was a way around the some of the gameplay aesthetics, you know.
Okay, we should go this way, right? Don't know. I'm gonna run into that rat. I see that rat. See you, rat.
Didn't get you that time.
No, but it seems like something else did because I just heard it.
Yeah, I think that's that curse, but it doesn't seem. I mean, the fact that you explained that the items have curses, I don't know that I would ever know that that was the case. Because there's not as much a one-to-one connection between those things. And I suppose you're not supposed to be able to decipher it immediately, but I don't know that you'd ever be able to.
Yeah, I definitely need
Here we go.
something there.
Mm-hmm.
Being slightly glowier is not obviously a good curse until you have to like go to bed.
So we have a question in chat. This is for Dale and for Zach, who played earlier. When you're playing, how well are you able to mentally map out the mansion?
Medium well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a little bit to get a sense of the place.
Mm-hmm.
When I was running around. I
Like,
think partially because all of the rooms have the same floor. And you can't really see very far, so like especially with the really vast rooms, it's hard to get like a sense of
Yeah.
like I have like I know there's a room here and I know how I got here, but I'm not sure without going around the entire room, like circling the whole room, that there aren't any other doors here.
What the heck is this thing?
But
Oh, it's a pole.
I think by the end of it, I had a like I could draw this place.
Yeah. I will say, just from watching it, even though every room had the same walls and the same floor, it wasn't that difficult to get a sense of it, of what was connected to what. And maybe that's different for a viewer than a player. But it seemed like it was laid out. The levels were designed in such a way as to not, you know, torture the player with confusion. Seemed pretty good.
Yellow. Pink.
Yeah, no, we we tried to give each of the rooms like a little bit of identity with like the furniture in them, but yeah, we just didn't have enough time
Oh,
to
this
make
is
enough
supposed to be-
different things to really help the player understand like where they were in the mansion.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that if you did put more time into it, it'd be obviously on the list.
Yep.
So it's not really worth criticizing. It just makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah, if you just only had a weekend.
Yeah, we
it makes
did
sense.
talk a little bit about like whether this game needed a map, and we kind of debated back and forth on it. And I think we've settled on no map, but
Mhm.
giving the rooms a bit more identity.
I would say, yeah, true. No map is good.
Yeah.
What's the answer here? Do I have these three right?
White for the top right. Other top right.
Yeah. Okay.
The door's right or you're right?
I guess you are
Also,
facing toward the camera.
The character is
I am in the wrong here. I'm sorry.
The bottom right should be yellow, and then the bottom left should be blue. Or bottom left should be pink. Sorry.
Bottom left. Wait, what? Okay, that did not make sense to me. With what I remember seeing. Because I thought it was like pink, white in a row. Oh, this is the key. I don't need anything else.
I don't think having a slightly confusing layout is necessarily a negative. I think it's the case, but I think there are advantages to having a disorienting mansion.
How come I can't go through this door?
I think if you use the key.
Oh, does the key get me? Oh. Okay. Oh, and then I was hoping that this was just the end of it.
Well, now I know you weren't paying attention when Zach was playing.
No, because a key makes sense for the exit.
I did also assume that would be the end. I was surprised it continued. You gotta get that last item though before you leave. Get that kid out of there.
Well, Zach, you just looked at that and you go, I know what this is. You didn't even need to go find the clue.
Yeah, I don't need to find the clue. Wait, oh, nope. I need to find the clue because I just tried to walk through a wall. I don't know how door.
Definitely teleport through that door.
Wait, why is it making sound?
That's the Moirah noise.
Freaking heck. Yeah, this is why I'm a good playtester, because I say what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh wait, hold on. This couch is white. I thought it was yellow. Oh, and there's slime there. I didn't hit the slime this time though. Good job, me. Okay, here we go. Over here. Ooh, let's do this. Number 2.
Seeing Dale go through this where Zach sort of skipped it, it is interesting because you do lead the player back in this direction pretty effectively, I think. Once they get through the last door. I mean, even though you're circling back to where you started, the pathing feels pretty cool.
You made a comparison to point and clicks.
Middle, top left, top right.
Which with the items, like the setup kind of makes sense because it's formatted like that. But I think it's more used like a Metroidvania. In the items open pathways for the most part.
Oh yeah.
The ring lets you go through the darkness. The axes let you get through the wooden boards. The keys let you open the doors, which is pretty classic Metroidvania design.
Yeah. Right. It doesn't become point and click until it's like 17 items, and because a point and click is a Metroidvania. It's just like way more tedious, perhaps.
Oh, that's not 3. What's in here?
I didn't see these doors when I went through. I just went through that main one.
I went through this earlier. Okay. I would have been in this room. It goes back here. Top, middle, left. Top right. Ta-da! Okay. Into that thing. Oh, let's run into this. Heavens. Ah!
Just one last stepping into something before you escape
It's
the
the
manor.
sound. Well, I knew I had enough health, and I was pretty sure I was at the end. So
We should have made that one a one-shot kill. Just to get you in the final hallway.
Let me take
Oh.
you to my
Moirah still gets you
Is
from
Mo-
here?
yeah, because I hear the sound. Is Moira coming for you next still?
I don't think we turn her off. So yeah, she probably will eventually get there.
okay, what if I just stay here for a little while? I'll see. In the meantime, do you want to talk a little bit about Ludum Dare and how long the game jam is, and maybe briefly what a game jam is, in case any of our viewers don't know?
Sure, yeah.
While
If
we wait
you
for Moirah and listen to this music.
which this song was composed by one of my teammates. They didn't sing it, but they actually did make the melody and use the samples to make the song, which is cool. Yeah, a game jam is, in general, it's just making a game in a fixed amount of time with certain criteria, basically. It's just to really kind of put you in an intentional box to kind of bring out creativity in how you make games. It's also just kind of fun. So Ludum Dare or Ludum Dare is a game jam that happens twice a year normally, but now next year it's gonna be 3 times, where you can make a game in 72 hours as part of like the normal game jam. And essentially there's like for like 2 weeks leading up to it, there's like a whole voting thing on like what the theme's gonna be, or which is kind of like the topic, or like what you're gonna make your game kind of based around or inspired by.
Like this was every 10 seconds, right?
Yep. And the previous one was Delay the Inevitable.
There she is.
But yeah, so you make a game in 72 hours, and then they have like 3 weeks of voting, essentially, where like everyone who made a game now goes and plays everyone else's games and rates them on. There's like a couple different categories, and it's really cool. It's super fun, and like the more you play and rate other people's games, the more your game gets like promoted on the website, which then gets you more plays. Which it's just a fun loop of making games.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
Ludum
say-
Dare like feedback system is a really great way. Like if you are having trouble, like, I mean, we've got Playtest here tonight, and we have a pretty healthy community here in the Twin Cities. But it is such a great way to shortcut your way into getting a bunch of Playtest feedback, is by just engaging with that system, and then people will play your game, and then they will comment for their own karmic sense, because they want, it's all very cyclical. So this virtuous cycle rather, and it's really, really effective. And as people play your game and point out all the things that you already know are problems, and then they point out the things that they liked about it, like even if 50 or even if like 80% of the comments are critical, you usually know most of that stuff already. So the 20% that's positive, if you're unlucky to be in that situation, is still amazing and very validating. So anyone who's done game jams or hasn't done any game jams, but if you haven't done a Ludum Dare, I think they're very effective as far as game jams go.
They definitely have the best feedback system
Yeah.
of any game jam I participated in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You
so,
don't get that level of feedback
Yeah, like
in anything
Global
else.
Game Jam, it's like you're done with it, and then you're done with it. Like,
Yeah,
you
gotta go find people to play your game now.
Yeah, and I mean, unless your site is really focused on having feedback or get-togethers or play tests after the fact, like we do here in the Twin Cities, it's just you put it out onto the website and then no one ever looks at it, and like that's fine, that's perfectly fine, but the feedback system in Ludum Dare is just incredible.
Okay, so I'm going to give a little preview of what's on deck, this is Zach's game, and it is a card game called Untitled Card Game, and I hear it's a roguelike deck builder. So how many players do you need or want for this game, Zach?
It's just one player.
Okay.
Whoever's up, I guess.
Okay.
Well, Trevor, if you want to stick around and play, or we'll put Dale on it.
Yep, I will. I am always willing to do that. And if somebody in the chat wants to hop on, just let us know in the chat. I was going to follow that up with 2 questions about Ludum Dare. Number 1 is, say I didn't make a Ludum Dare game, can I still play your Ludum Dare game and give you feedback?
Yeah, you can definitely play it. If you go to ldjam.com, which is the main Ludum Dare website, that links out to all the games that were made. I don't think you can actually give the feedback through the website unless
Okay.
you made a game, or I turned on like allow anyone to give me feedback.
Okay.
But definitely, if you're a part of the IGDA TC Discord, you can throw the information in there.
Yep, and on that Discord, what is your username?
Tobias.
Okay.
Or it might be
I
Trevor.
just
I don't
wanted-
remember if I put it on there.
I think it's Sophia's. I just wanted you to pronounce it. And then I'm going to also throw that Ludum Dare website up in the chat on I almost called it Yahoo, YouTube. Follow-up question number 2 about Ludum Dare is, how did this Ludum Dare compare to the past 50 Ludum Dares?
Well, considering I've only done 3, it was. I didn't like the theme of this one as much, but doing it with like a big group of friends was probably one of the coolest experiences ever.
Oh,
Just because like, one, I got to share sort of my passion for game development with them, and then 2, like they all really got into it, and I learned a ton about like, again, like sound design and art direction that I just don't have any experience in.
I
sounds
think
good.
hating the theme is a tradition.
It is.
Game
What is
jammers.
this? This was the most divisive theme I've seen in previous years. Every other year, I've been like, oh, it's a decent theme. It's fine. This
Oh.
this year was like 50% was like, I hate this theme. It's the worst thing ever, and then 50% was like, no, this is the best theme ever. I don't know what's going on.
Yep.
We have
Remember to
another.
vote for your themes.
Real quick, we have another Zach in chat who would be interested in joining us to play this game. So Zach, I accepted your friend request in Parsec, so you can connect to the TC Playtest PC in the Computers tab of Parsec. But I will also want to get you here onto voice chat. Not a requirement, but it's very helpful if you want to hop on. So what you should do is just send a message in the general discussion with your username. And look, you've already done this, so brilliant. I'm going to make you a event presenter, which means you are able to join the event stage voice chat whenever you're ready, and then you'll want to mute your stream so we're not getting feedback. And then I will approve your request, and we'll get you right in.
Okay.
And I will quick say just thank you everyone for playing my game and for all the wonderful feedback. It is always a pleasure to be on here.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it.
Thank you. You made me go, and a lot. Okay, so Zach, do you want to? Okay, well, first of all, question for Mark about this game, which is there is a little full screen tick box.
Yes.
One might call it an option, not menu.
Yeah.
Oh, so you just clicked it.
I unclicked it and clicked it again.
It's I didn't get to the settings section yet.
Okay, real quick, for our new Zach, I've given you mouse and keyboard control, so you should have it now, and you're in the stream with us.
Hi,
so
y'all.
welcome.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Hi.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Zach. So I'm going to say developer Zach is Squid, and the other Zach is, is Zach Lower. He's Zach in the stream now. I see it now too. But on Discord, if you are interacting with us on the IGDA Discord, developer Zach is Squid, and playtester Zach must be just Zach Lower with his full name. Interesting to have 2 Zachs on the thing.
That'll do. Hey,
Ooh.
Zach. Hey,
Sounds
thanks
good.
for letting me give your game a shot here.
Hi, Zach. Thanks for playing.
Yeah.
So this is We are just coming together on features here that it's actually a playable game. We've been working on it for a bit, trying to get out the basic features on this. Essentially, this is a roguelike strategy deck builder. We're trying to fuse like music into turn-based combat. It's like a Slay the Spire meets Guitar Hero. Is this very bright for everybody else?
Looks good to me. You might have HDR on, or maybe I have HDR on. You're
good
looking
for
at it
me
through
as well.
Parsec. That's right, Zach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna assume it's streaming. It's very bright on my end, but yeah, I'll just assume that's just me.
Ooh, I
Um,
like the art on these gears.
Yeah, this is real pretty. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing here.
So you're the guy on the left there, and you have cards coming down a track, which is essentially your hand. All of the stuff on the track is the enemy's attacks coming at you. And as you can see, the cards have a little clock on them. That's how many turns the enemy gets when you play it. You also have buttons on the left-hand side that let you play a single action that also just takes one turn. Taking turns also draws cards. So, like, if you give the enemy 2 turns, you will draw 2 cards and move everything on the conveyor belt forward. If you attack or if you send one of the shapes down the track when it's empty, you'll do damage to the enemy.
Oh,
So
I
like
see
this,
here. So we're sending an attack and moving up.
yeah, afterwards. So it shoots 4 attacks and then it moves up twice.
Got it. All right. Am I gonna wrap around if I? No, I won't. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm feeling pretty confident. I feel like I'm kicking ass here.
Mm-hmm. You've taken no damage and you won that fight.
The delta from I don't know what I'm doing to I feel confident I'm kicking ass. It's a pretty short time to get there, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think we're definitely teaching a language to the people who are playing this, so a strong tutorial is going to be necessary. But I think with where we're at now, it feels like, and this is the first public appearance of this game.
Is there audio during these combat
There's
sections?
2 sound effects in the entire game, and we're working on that. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the audio systems have just got put in, and so we still need to work on the music end of this. We want it to, when you're playing these are essentially supposed to be songs that your bard is putting together. And we'd like for like dynamic music to play when you play those things. When you play those songs, that is the same song every time you play it, based on how the card is built. And a good chunk of this is, and none of this is in the game, so this is going to be the most lacking part. This is kind of just a tour of the mechanics, combat-wise. But we want to have events and ends of fights that let you adjust your existing cards rather than get new cards. Like Slay the Spire, you add cards to your deck. With this, you just modify cards. So like you see some cards have more instructions than others. You'd be able to build onto those and build better cards by adding new instructions that you get after completing combat or doing events. And different things would let you move stuff around and increase the cost of cards, but you'd be in total control of those cards you're putting together.
One thing that's new since I've seen this last is that overworld that you start in. Tell me a little bit about that, because I think I'm not quite getting the, like, you have a certain amount of moves and the gear turns, and once the minion reaches the highlighted part at the top, then you go into one of these battles. But I'm not quite seeing the connection between where you are on the board and that thing happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so this is like
okay. So
the
I'm watching the chain on the right.
mhm.
So the next step, you will get a battle, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and eventually that'll be displayed on those numbers because it looks like you'd go 3 there, but you only go 1. So that's like feedback we know about where it's like it's not quite there. And there's nothing in here on that overworld map right now, so it's definitely like kind of just the thing you have to maze your way through to get to the boss of this area at this point. But eventually it's going to have little stops on there that are like the Slay the Spire style events where you can like go and like do a dialogue and upgrade cards or like make choices. And like what I wanted out of that is like when I'm playing Slay the Spire, I want to do all the things, and it kind of locks you into those one path, and you have to pick the most optimal path. And I feel like you don't really make a lot of choices after you first get into a map. You get into a map, you have all of the information, and you've picked your path out. You rarely make a decision after that. So the whole overworld thing isn't super engaging. For this, we're trying out like hiding some of the information. You have to explore the map, and also you could do everything on the map if you want to, but you're losing health the whole time you're going through, fighting the monsters that are just continuously coming, and you have to do fight after fight after fight. So like you have 10 health left, and you have to fight that boss on that 10 health.
Yeah, there's a risk reward mechanic in there. Like you could speed through it or to the boss as quick as possible to reduce your chances of getting hit by the minions along the way. But presumably there'll be rewards to exploring that you'd also be passing up by not looking around the map.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can book it through, and you're not upgrading your cards. And a lot of the metagame around this is it's going to be more than just one run. You're going to be able to take cards out of runs and bring cards back into runs. So like you're gonna have more incentive to build up cool cards rather than just winning that one short run. One of the mechanics I want to point out here is cards in your hand end up in one of 2 places. When you play it, it goes back into your deck, so you can draw it again. It could be the next card you draw. If it makes it to the end of the conveyor belt, it is out of your deck for this run, or for this fight. Which means you can actually like kind of whittle down your deck while you're playing, getting rid of cards that you don't want to play and cycling through. And if you have big cards like Fireball that often burn cards because they draw you 3, you can end up running out of cards altogether and being stuck with nothing but the buttons, which will get you killed against most of the enemies.
Yeah, it's interesting how this system works really well on its own, but how I totally see why wanting to add a dynamic music will really bring it to life. Usually for systems like these, you kind of can't build them without putting all those pieces together. But this is interesting that this system it makes perfect sense without music, but it will definitely be 10 times more fun with it, rather than it not working at all until you add that.
Yeah, it's like we're the aesthetic of a rhythm game with like none of the rhythm mechanics.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I'm in trouble here.
You're taking a lot of damage.
It is the boss.
That's
I don't know if you
6
thought of this
damage
already,
on the
but-
board coming in.
I don't know if you thought of this already,
but
but I think you should have a different background arena during the boss fight versus the minion fights.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The whole background is super static right now. It will eventually be dynamic and change. Probably not just with the boss fights, but with where you are on the overworld map. So if there's like a hallway north of you, there'll be a big gap in the middle. So I want it to. I like the mechanics of the UI and having it it'd be kind of like chunky and like letting you see how everything works, but like I also want like that transition to still retain some level of like I am in a space.
Ooh, close.
So
Yeah.
I messed up somewhere this week, and restarting the game doesn't work. So you're gonna have to go to the main menu and quit the game, and then reopen the game.
All right, Zach, as long as you don't move your mouse, I will
Yeah,
take care
go
of that
for it.
for you. You should have control back now.
Nice. Do you guys mind if I give it another go here?
Oh, please.
Oh, what do you think so far? Is there anything like particularly confusing or unintuitive?
I think it's extremely intuitive. Actually, it did not take long for me to figure out. As you guys pointed out. Yeah, I mean, I love how there's some kind of moment-to-moment decisions. With playing kind of defensively or aggressively, and you can have that nice moment where you're like, oh no, a big attack's coming, but he's only at 3 health, so I'll just avoid that and hit him directly. I definitely would love to be making some music right now. Man, that'll feel good.
Yeah, we're I don't know. I need to brush up on my music theory. We have some ideas, and one of the people on our team is much more musically inclined. So once we get into that feature a little bit more, we're gonna have a lot of figuring out. But I feel like with where we're at, it's not gonna be super hard to prototype out something that feels good.
I fire a will that go through the blue? Oh,
No, yeah, all of the other shapes block uh block any other shape. It doesn't very prevalent on this section. If you can beat the boss, the next area
oh.
uh
Heck yeah, I can beat the
has more
boss.
shapes.
I just noticed something as the sort of battle arena was going away. On the very top of the screen, you could still sort of see some of the 3D objects moving
Yeah,
after
that
they'd all
that
gone away.
didn't go quite far enough.
It's those little things that you don't always notice right away, and then stick around in development for way too long. You're like, oh, I just got to add 3 more on the y-axis or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. This I am surprised that this works this well. 'Cause, a month ago it was not, and even close to where it is, and we've gotten a ton of really good development in this last month that made this. I am fortunate enough that I got laid off, which has given me an insane amount of time. And I kind of genuinely mean that. Like,
Yeah.
I was able to afford to take a month off and just work on this, and everybody else has been pulling more than their weight to get this to this state. And it is. There's only a few bugs for where we're at, and everything else is just unintuitive features we haven't gotten to yet. So I'm pretty happy with this as a base.
I was gonna say that's a very positive attitude you have about getting laid off.
Yeah.
Is there anything I'm missing in the overworld? Is there anything there yet? Like pickups?
There will be events. There are not currently right now. It's essentially an annoying maze. How does it feel like with the view distance?
That feels pretty good to me. But having things in the overworld, like having hidden health or whatever other pickups down there that I could intentionally go and find,
Like
would obviously make it feel a lot better than just I only have 1 goal. It's to get to the witch as fast as possible, because I don't feel like there's anything else that I should.
Absolutely. Yeah.
like new cards, maybe.
Um Yeah, there's going to be card upgrades. I think right now you heal after a boss fight. I actually think we're going to end up putting that somewhere in the level, so you have to find the full heal, and you have to go into the next level with whatever health you got from the boss fight. But yeah,
I
we're
suspect
not quite
that's
there
going to
yet.
make your balancing as you balance the difficulty. That's going to make it harder on you because there's going to be a wider range of player outcomes after each boss. So I'd be a little bit wary of that, of not
I
refilling
agree.
health.
I also feel like it kind of kills the boss fight tension to have a full heal after the boss. Like, but like this, Slay the Spire does that. And like you feel like the only health point that matters in this fight is the last one, because it's true. Like if you will heal to full, so you can just take damage to the face. And I really like the way like games like Hades feel, where the game is designed around you're not supposed to take damage, and any damage you take is like a level of failure.
Oh, I was actually going to use Hades is the reason I don't like that mechanic, because
Interesting.
one thing about Hades it's so satisfying is to finally beat a boss that taken you 3 runs to get through. But then if you beat the boss and you've got nothing left for it and you just die immediately afterwards, it makes it a very Pyrrhic victory, and I really don't like that. But I mean that's just my taste. But my suggestion is just much more about like making sure that you're able to actually balance the game by because it'll just be a lot harder. Or for players who are able to get those stay at those high health levels, it'll make it too easy. Because you're designing the next section of the game to account for players who didn't make it through with all their health,
The runs are going to be pretty short, so I'm not super concerned about like more unfair situations, because I want this to be like faster than a Slay the Spire run. I want this
Sure.
if it can like target like a 30-minute run, because I want like more overworld systems in like lieu of like a Darkest Dungeon, where like a good chunk of the game is the outside management. A little less punishing than Darkest Dungeon, but like that kind of like heavy overworld content that makes you do a lot more management with your resources. And so I want you in and out of that loop a lot faster.
Okay.
But I do see what you're saying. Like it is definitely harder for balance. You're gonna have to watch, especially those boss fights where it is very very close. And like yeah, losing right after a boss fight isn't very fun. But I think it also would really, not only does it ratchet up the tension when you get out of a boss fight, checking out the new area, but it also lets you do another sort of risk and reward where you are waiting as long as you can to pick up that full heal. Because you can stay in this dungeon for a while going and exploring, and if like that full heal is like somewhere in the middle of the map or close to the boss, you can go and venture deeper in without picking it up and take some damage there and be full healed right before the boss.
Well, I mean, you can still use that system and then also let the player heal after a boss. But I think in the end, it's those two things. It's like it changes the player experience, and then it makes the challenge a little different for you. But it seems like you're prepared for both of those outcomes. So don't let me stop you.
So I really like the design of this little fire totem guy with his home scream and his fiery eyeballs.
It's like whoa, 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 like.
I appreciate that. I do have to admit, I stole most of the creature art at this point.
Oh.
Not stole. It's it's free art, and it matches my style close enough that I'll probably end up keeping a lot of it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Which is a really nice find. It's hard to find art that you can like that is already in your style.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you have when you have two squares or triangles, circles on on the grid here. Then when one is removed and there's only one, the one grows bigger. And at first, when I wasn't paying a ton of attention because I am just watching, I assumed the bigger ones dealt more damage, like they were a super hit or something.
Interesting.
And so I wonder. I mean, I think you did it just for legibility, but I think it doesn't communicate anything, and I kind of want it to communicate something. So I wonder. And
I see what you're saying.
As a game with pixel art styling, you do get into a little trouble when you change scales. But I think you do actually. I remember that was one of the things that I was really keeping an eye on when last time I got a look at this, was just how the different types of pixel art kind of fit together. And I think I'm not sure if you've made a lot of changes or I'm just feeling less picky now, but I think it hangs together a lot better to me now than it felt the last time I looked at it. But still, scaling pixel art is still one of those like weird things. But having different scales on one screen isn't so much a problem, because your art direction is explicitly saying these are pixels that live diegetically on this screen, rather than these are the pixels of the screen. But anyway, my whole point is just about those one or two. It feels like it shouldn't. The scale it feels like it's telling me something, but it's not actually telling me anything. Like when that.
I see what you're saying. It was definitely just to fill space. And this was the shapes was a pretty recent change. It used to be shields and swords, and that was surprisingly confusing. Like talking to the other developers, none of us could agree on what the interactions were.
Yeah.
Like if a sword hits a shield, it breaks the shield, but if a sword hits a sword, does it go through the sword? Is it blocked by the sword? Does it destroy the sword?
Yeah.
Shooting a shield at a sword gets rid of the sword, but is blocked by a the game actually, I feel like and like got a lot better by making everything the same thing pretty much, because there's no difference between a triangle and a circle. They both do 1 damage, they block each other, but it is just so much clearer visually.
Yeah, I mean, and mechanically, the fact that you have the different types of damage, it feels very intuitive. That triangle hits triangle, triangle blocks anything that's not, that tracks to me.
Yeah.
I think I might want more like music language, rests and sharps and whole notes and stuff. But then that's a whole other iconography that has its own language that just like the swords and shields might feel once you put it in confusing. So maybe abstract is best.
We
are
going to experiment with that, but
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking using musical terms instead of like fireball. It would be, I don't know a musical term that means.
Well, Great Balls of Fire.
That's a song.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, I was thinking more of a musical term.
I know what you mean.
Syncopation, or I don't know what other things
or
there
forte,
are.
or any of them terms, any of them Italian terms.
Yeah, those names definitely don't fit, but it's going to be your fault in the future because you're going to be able to type the names in. We want to give a lot of ownership over those cards, so whenever you make a change to a card, you can rename it.
I will tell you, every time I play Civilization and update one of my units, and it gives me the choice to give it its own name, I never ever once do that. So I would test this with players to see if people actually will find that a opportunity for creativity or a burden of creativity.
What I'm thinking about doing, and this is, you're right. We just needed to test this. Like this is stuff player feedback on and see if players actually do this. But I'm thinking about making a mechanical advantage to having a named card to just make players do this, or like, and maybe it's something that like lets you rearrange the order the first time you rename it, so
Mhm.
players will like wait to rename it or save it, but once they finally want that change and actually have more ownership over the card, they're going to want to name it, and they'll have a better idea of what they want it to be named at that point.
Uh-huh.
And until then, they'll probably just have like a randomly generated name or no name.
Oh,
Oh, that's
I
the
get
end of
it.
party.
I kept thinking he died and like left the key, but it's really his. What's loot?
Loot, yeah.
Yeah, let's go with loot.
Dale, did you want to try now, or Zach, are you into it? Want to give it another go?
I am into it, but please, Dale, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say let Zach play as long as he is willing, and then I'll take over. Cause like, what's really like, why I want to get my hands on it eventually is I've been watching you, but like how the mechanics work between moving up and down lines. But maybe since I'm wondering about that not being able to play, next time you get into battle, just kind of talk us through it.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll give it one more go, and then I'll hand it over to you then.
Okay.
It does seem to have a really satisfying loop. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's short enough, but not too short. There's always things you want to try next time. Is the impression I'm getting.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
I do feel like I'm running into some situations, where I have nothing, no way to prevent these attacks coming at me, and I think that would, even just that would feel better,
Mm-hmm.
if I had, created my own deck. Then I would, you know, sort of be able to blame myself, instead of feeling like, oh, well, I'm screwed. I don't have any options here.
It'd be your fault. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bounced this literally today, so it's not quite there for like a pre-made deck, and it's probably not going to get there because I want to get those deck builder features into that. Yeah, no, it's definitely an issue with this current iteration of the cards aren't quite the perfect tool set for the enemies that you're facing. And it's kind of even purposeful in the second area. I think the third area I did the best at actually tuning the cards for the fights.
All right, let's make it to the third area then. Are the overworlds, is that procedurally generated?
It is, yep. And yeah, we don't want to do a lot more work on that. We'll probably have like stuff that moves with the cadence of the player's movement. So like traps that you have to walk through at the right time to be able to get through, that makes players waste more movement, and movement is encounters. So
Cool.
Definitely a lot to flesh out on that side, especially within the random generation systems. But
maybe hopefully a simple change to make would be, I don't know if you have this already, but like a minimum distance to the boss. Just since that one was so quick that I only had one encounter before reaching her.
it is like it's a consideration for sure. Yeah, sometimes you get straight lines straight to the boss, and in this current iteration, it is a huge advantage because there is no reason to stay in a level longer than like you're just losing health hanging out in the level, and there's no advantage.
Right.
I think that is naturally going to become less of an issue because you're not going to want to leave right away because
fair play.
it's going to be harder, and like I am upgrading these cards for you between each levels.
Thanks.
But yeah, no problem. But when you have to do it yourself, like going into the second area with the first area's cards just isn't going to work. Like you won't have any of the red circles. You're gonna have to go build those up. So yeah, we're gonna have a little more work to do on that level generation and smoothing it out. It wouldn't be super hard to have it just recalculate if it drew a straight line or something. But random generation's actually pretty hard.
No kidding.
So I had some thoughts on the going up and down the grid.
Yeah.
First is an aesthetic thing. Is I would love to see your character when the icon moves up, the character just jump a little, and when it moves down, have them sort of duck a little, as if their body is moving it. That might be
That's
fun.
fabulous. Yeah.
But the other thing is, when I was watching the first playthrough, I really thought there was a relevance to the icon as you go up and down, and the attacks that make it all the way to you on the left. I assumed you had to avoid the attacks, not get rid of all of them. And so it would be interesting to think about how, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of tactics towards where you position the up and down, other than to shoot through to reach the other side. I wonder if it would be interesting to have. It'd be too much of a change probably to have the character be represented by that, so you could dodge the attacks, and that would give you a reason to choose a card that's just moving and waste a card that would otherwise attack, so that you can avoid damage. That might be interesting. But the other thing you could play with is having it so that dodging the attacks makes the attacks less effective. So if it hits your representative icon there on the row, then you suffer 5 damage instead of 1, or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of balance concerns there, but I just want it to matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think like this isn't. Yeah, this has come up a couple of times, and I think like the animations that should be happening here aren't yet. The card leaves too soon. It should be playing through all of the notes. That should be much clearer.
Oh, sure.
One of the things that I want to happen is that whole UI element showing where you're pointing is going to disappear during the enemy turns. So it's gone, because like you're right. It feels like that's where you're at, and that's just where you're aiming.
Yeah.
I think it's a little dangerous to give advantage to not being in the rows of attacks, because I think that incentivizes shooting down one lane that you can just clear out, and I think a good part of it is making sure you switch lanes to clear out as much as you can, and disincentivizing that I think would lead to some bad strategies that I don't know how to work around yet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the implications are broader than just making that tweak.
Yeah, I really want the lanes to represent notes, but I don't think that's a good idea overall. But I think it's just because,
Well, maybe
reading
some
it
enemies are
like
damaged by high notes, and some enemies are damaged more by low notes. So you can clear a path easily through row 3, but this is an enemy that its resonance is such that the low notes do more damage, but the low notes have more attacks, so you have to clear through more. There's push and pull there.
But then you have to make that. Then your songs can only have 4 notes, and that's.
Well, I mean,
right?
I suspect that when you do add the dynamic music, it's going to be like Guitar Hero, where it's going to be the notes aren't going to be 1-to-1, right? It's just going to feel like what it is, right?
It's also not going to matter with the current plan. It's not going to matter where you're positioned. Every time you play a song, it's going to sound the same. It's more about what is in the song than where you're positioned when you're playing it.
Okay.
Zach, can you talk a little bit about how the cards deal out those shapes? So, like that one had 4 red circles on it. So it just shot 4 red circles. Can you change which lane it is between those?
You need to hit one of the buttons on the left to move you, or have arrows on the card, whereas this one shoots, moves.
Oh, I was assuming that arrows were just a different version of the shapes.
Okay, that I guess the coloring is probably
it also
a
might
little
be
confusing.
Something where the and like that totally makes sense now with how it's, but maybe just changing the shape of your keyboard buttons so that the shapes are all on round buttons, and maybe your arrows are right up above and below each other and are on square buttons or something.
That's that would definitely be much clearer. I see what you're saying there. I think one of the plans we had for those is you could swap out your buttons, so you could get new buttons, so you could lose those
Oh.
arrows. So like part of me doesn't want to do that just because I lose out on some of that dynamic factor, but maybe I could have the best
Maybe
of
it was
both
just
worlds.
a different shaped button, but you can put them anywhere. Because yeah, I would say just watching this is very confusing as to what's going on because you
shit.
have no control over it. And I thought, oh, he's just using his arrow keys to go up and down.
Yeah, no, all clicks, no keyboard prompts. I think I can't see a mouse, so that probably makes it a little more confusing.
And that would
to
make
watch.
a lot more sense with how it never shoots the arrows.
You could do a little bit more to differentiate the arrows from the attacks by having, because you have this double outline, so you could have white outline then black on the arrows, and then black outline then white on the attacks. Just little things to tell the user that these are different. You don't have to explain what's different about them. They will discover that,
Yeah, and then it'll be really obvious. I was gonna suggest maybe green outline on the arrows just for go.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good feedback. You're right. I mean, like symbol wise, especially like if our symbols get more complicated, it is not clear that those aren't shapes.
And I mean, so far you've done a great job. Nothing in here is incompatible with color blindness. So obviously, it seems like you're keeping that in mind as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so does the scroll move forward only when the card you play has time?
Or if you press one of the buttons on the side, which will move it forward one. But yeah. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
one
So
of
if you
the
play a card
on the side creates that thing and moves it forward.
Yeah, so it'll either move you up, down, or shoot one of the three shapes, which I should have hid one of those shapes because the square does not make an appearance.
Okay, so this will shoot all in the same row.
Yeah.
Okay,
and like
so this will shoot a red circle, then a purple triangle, and then it will move down and shoot another purple triangle, and then a red circle, and then a purple triangle.
Yep, and one of those is going to get wasted because it's going to turn into a red circle, which is going to block that blue triangle.
One of the things that I was confused by is, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought it went from in columns, first column, second column, third column, fourth, instead of rows, in terms of the order of actions. I don't know how, you'll learn it as you play it, but there might be something to putting a line in between each row to indicate that it goes left to right instead of up top to bottom, or left to right, then top to bottom. If that makes sense, like on the card.
Oh, the card design, like not showing. Okay.
Yeah, just the order of attacks, right?
That is. Yeah, I went through a couple of iterations that I feel like were a little more explicit. It's hard to fit a lot of iconography onto there.
Yeah. Well, there's
without
part of it
being messy. But...
Yeah, like you can right now there are four rows and 4 columns, but there's no mechanical value to that. It could be, it's just X number of attacks or X number of actions. Focus Clear has 12 actions, but it could be, in rows of 5. It doesn't have to be rows of 4. And for some reason, I want it to matter, and so I'm looking for a little bit more information there to tell me what's going on.
You're talking about the empty space, or specifically about the direction?
Well, I mean, just the fact that it's a 4x4 grid has no gameplay implications at all. but in my mind, I feel like because it's laid out kind of like a puzzle grid, I feel like there's something to it. And so some extra bit of communication to let me know that these are just 12 spots.
Not a 4. Okay, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like it does
it's
kind
kind
of
of
look like
asking
a
a
match
lot.
3 puzzle.
Yeah,
because it looks like that should go through all like each maybe the trick is to, because it's a 4-row scroll, the 4-row card like automatically to me made it seem like one of those should represent each row, and so just changing that up would help.
Right, because the grid is also 4x4, right?
Yeah, so changing it to a
Yeah, it's the weird things you don't know you're accidentally communicating to players or something. But I mean, it's not an easy problem to solve. And a lot of this is mitigated through play, right? It's you figure it out pretty quick.
It is also
Yeah.
important. Like we want to pitch this, and we're trying to get marketing. We
Yeah.
want it to be communicated pretty visually. So while that may not be a long-term play problem, and making it so that somebody can look at a GIF and be like, I get that, is still pretty important.
Yeah, and you want someone, if someone's playing with and there's a friend on the couch watching, you want them to learn it as quickly as the person who's playing it is learning it. If you can. I mean, not all games need that, but I think your game can do that. And so just a little bit extra love and attention on that stuff, you'll get people on board very quickly. Playtester Zach, you did it. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel fantastic.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you did get better each time. So it felt like there was like that competency curve. It seemed like it was there. What do you think? Did you feel like you just chipped at it till you won, or did you feel like you understood it better and that's why you won?
No, I think it's absolutely true that I did feel like I knew what was going on better and better each time.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very least was being more cognizant of the cards and those sequences. I could just better sort of quickly see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
There definitely I wanted to play fast. I didn't want to like spend a lot of downtime between turns picking out which sequence would you know what I mean? Like really calculating what would happen. I wanted to. I just felt some innate pressure to go quickly. And that may be part of what made me better is that it got more intuitive to see what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I also feel that, but I've built the game and I don't really want to play it that much, so I'm trying to get through it as fast as possible when I'm playing it. So I think it's weird to hear that that is such an innate feeling of just wanting to burn through these.
Well, it's maybe because the kind of idea of time passing is your enemy, like the
and like because it's rhythm and gear themed, it feels like you want to keep some sort of pace.
Okay.
I was going to say there is a lot of joking going around in the chat. I was going to ask the people in the chat, hey, would you like to suggest some names for this game?
Yes, please.
So Dale, you're at the wheel now. You're playing through.
Yeah, but I'm not understanding it because I just tried to move down and it did nothing. Down, up.
I think you played a card and then tried to use the
I know, that's what I thought you were supposed to do, is move it during the thing, but I guess it locks it out.
Yeah, I think you have one action. You could play a card or hit a button, and you're saying that's not very clear.
It isn't very clear. That is feedback we need to work on. It is not clear when you can't click things, and that is something we're very aware of.
Yeah. One thing that could really help you figure that out, and will be another benefit is I'm not sure if you've thought about gamepad controls.
Kinda, yeah.
Because I think
it's gonna happen.
I mean, it seems like a thing that, especially if you're trying to pitch this to publishers, you'll want to have that, because inevitably they'll say, "Are you going to put it on Switch?" And you want to be able to say yes to that question.
Yes, we will.
And but going through the process of coming up with the UX for gamepad control you'll benefit many other parts of the game by having things that are the UI will have to be more explicit and more intuitive. And that'll just be a natural consequence of designing for gamepad. So I would say that's a shortcut to solving some of those problems, even outside of gamepad use.
Yeah, that's fair. You are, it's on our, like, pretty high on our priority list.
Mhm.
I have waited too long to add gamepad support to games before, and it becomes less fun the longer you wait.
Yeah.
I think we're not. Interactions are very limited in what you can do in the game. It is all mouse clicks, but it's all mouse clicks on very specific things. You can hit the buttons, you can hit the cards, and you can click on squares in the level. And we're keeping in mind to like not do anything too wildly gamepad friendly, because I do want that porting as an option, and mobile too, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it works for a mobile game. Have not tried porting it, or just building it for mobile, but I kind of feel like it just work right now.
Yeah, I mean, everything is finger sized, like if at phone
That's
scale. So I think
true.
it would be a really effective phone game.
I don't think I'm not willing to build out monetization that works for mobile, but
oh yeah, you need to sell
maybe
this
Netflix will buy it.
You need to sell this for $3 and make no money, or find an Apple Arcade or a Netflix or one of those services to pick it up, because once you start, I mean, not only is the ethical concerns as a game designer, it's just annoying to have to make all your choices based on your business model.
Yeah. I guess I have a lot of this on mind because this week I was like, oh yeah, this game needs content for people to actually play it. So I've spent a lot of time making enemies. Do you Zach's still on, right?
I'm here.
Yeah. When you were playing through, did you feel like distinct character between the move sets of the enemies attacking you?
I think somewhat is the answer. Like is he a Minotaur? That what is he? The third boss that you fight, I think.
Yeah.
That one I noticed it more than anywhere else. Because of the way he would like lay down walls of defense that were mixtures of triangles and circles. That I thought was the single most distinct. Some of the minions I don't think I felt quite such a distinction, or I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to it.
Okay. I mean that's good feedback. Most players are not going to. They're on like very simple loops, and eventually we will be at the point where we're able to like have each of the boss have their own like mechanical gimmick that's gonna differentiate them a little bit more. But I was interested to see how much just the patterns really added to it.
It is though, yet another thing that the music would add a lot to. I mean, if there's one that's doing like guitar riffs and that results in shapes going up, back and forth across the board. That would feel a lot different than someone, like laying down power chords or whatever.
The enemies hopefully will be using that same system for when they're playing stuff, so you would be able to hear the difference in the attacks coming at you.
That'd be really cool. That would be a lot more obvious, since your eyes are kind of on your cards,
Mm.
but your ears can be on the enemy.
Uh,
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it intentional that the buttons, your loot keys, are pretty weak options? Because I felt like it
Yes.
was almost never the right thing to use those.
Yeah. I think they come in handy, like really in handy, like very occasionally. Where it's like you don't have any red cards, you need to get through one red to kill a guy, or you need to move to reposition to be able to play a card. But yeah, the point of them is they're pretty bad. Like some of the events in the game will let you swap them out for more powerful ones. So you might be able to upgrade to one that shoots 2 shapes or something. But in general, it's always just the free bad option to like stop you from getting totally locked. And also it lets you draw a card. So sometimes you can actually like end up with cantrips or just like the 0 cost cards totally filling your hand. You play all of them and you have no way to draw a card otherwise without a button. So it is also just a card draw button that has an extra benefit to it.
Yeah, I think the balance on it feels pretty good. But I think because it takes up a lot of the screen, it might feel like it should do a little more than that. But I think, as you described it, and as it's always seemed, it's like, yeah, if the cards available to you aren't ideal, you can maybe use an up or a down or one of the attacks to put yourself in a position where the cards in front of you are a little bit more effective. And I think like that feels like a good use of them, rather than them being like effective as a battle strategy.
Mm-hmm.
That also lightens the pressure on you as the designer to make sure that there's always usable situations with randomized cards.
Yeah, definitely makes it so situations where we could like throw in extra shapes. Like I could throw a square in to one of the fights in this setup, and even though you don't have any cards that have any squares, you do have a button that could like deal with those, and that's not good, but it is an option.
Yeah. Well, it might also be like a boss move might be to use a type of attack that you are not equipped for in your deck, which means you suddenly have to worry more about your ups and your downs and your positioning. So you can like, oh, this card will get me in the position I need, and then I'll use the square button. Or none of my cards will work. I have to press up, then square, and I've wasted 3 goes. That can feel interesting, I think. We're getting a lot of name suggestions in the chat.
Oh, you want to read them out for us, please?
Dale, I would like you to read them out.
Oh, I'm playing the game.
All right, fine. Strum the Spire. It's pretty cute.
I don't want
Loot Stock and 4 Smoking Strings. That's it's a bit of a long walk, but I get it. Loot 'em Up. That's cute. Loot 'em Dare. This one's a thinker, and it doesn't work out loud. But Looter Shooter. That's pretty fun.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Loot Boxer. Shapes the Game. I don't quite get that one, but I guess there are just shapes. Loot Hero. I mean, go with the classics, right?
Yeah.
Sweet Carolines of Shapes. That might be even a longer walk to get to that one. Live Free or Die Barred. That one's fun.
Oh, that's pretty good. These are great.
Yeah. I mean, speaking seriously to it, I think what is interesting about this is that the bard is the unlikely hero. And I think that's the sort of core joke of the game, is that you're an adventurer that just has a loot. And so I think a good name might lean into that fact, like maybe something about like how the bard is lost or totally unprepared. Rather than it just being, I mean, puns on loots, I guess you can't go wrong with that, but I kind of would like a little bit more leaning into that central joke, of the sort of unlikely adventurer. I don't have a great suggestion at hand, but something that hits that, I think, would be really successful.
With our more recent internal name pitches, we've kind of focused on the like trying to show off like that you are building songs, and that's not a huge part of this demo here, so you don't feel that as much. But that's going to trying to make that the core of the game there. So just to sell that, I found I went and looked at a bunch of the deck builders, and I wanted to see like how do they like show off their deck builder in their name, and I found it interesting that none of them do.
Oh yeah.
It's the card and like deck and like that kind of like naming scheme just like does not exist in namings for these kinds of card games. And
it's just too boring a fact. You know, and I mean, maybe the genre is also not so insular. Like you're not gonna maybe some players seek out the genre, but you're not turning anybody off by not revealing that to them, I think.
That's fair. Yeah.
I will say, as someone who doesn't enjoy digital card games or deck builders at all, I also don't feel like as a video game genre I need to stay away from it. So I wouldn't feel deceived by if those mechanics were present in a game whose title didn't advertise that fact, you know.
Yeah.
For the music, are you thinking chip tune to match the chunky pixel art style, or much more sort of modernized medieval loot jams, or what's the thinking on the music direction?
Chiptune definitely fits the vibe. I kind of hate it personally. So that's not my go-to. It is definitely like a big factor, at least to begin with, is going to be what we can make with the people we have right now. I think eventually we're gonna get professional musicians involved, depending on future budget. But it's something that I want to figure out on the systems end before we take it to somebody else and be like, I want this thing and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So it's probably gonna be 2 iterations of the best we can do as developers, and then see what we can do handing that off to somebody with more experience in that. So just to say it might end up chiptune, or it might not. It's really whoever gets assigned to that is comfortable producing, or music we can source.
Oh, Dale, good use of the down arrow.
Thank you. It is helpful.
You have avoided a ton of damage. You are very close to winning the boss fight, having only taken 5 damage on this level.
I mean, part of it was randomly generated straight pass, so that helped a lot.
This just in, new title from the chat, Bard Knock Life. Just thought I'd report that.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Down one. This.
How does it feel on purely like game feel sense?
Pretty good. Let's go with that. Okay, you have 3 left, so I'm just.
Yeah, you're trying to optimize it perfectly, but it doesn't. You're in good shape.
I don't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is to beat a dead horse. This is where, if you are going to take your health into the next level, then that last hit on the boss, you still have to remain perfectly strategic. But there's something very joyous about knowing that you've kind of beaten the boss. You just have to deliver the final blow, and you don't have to be that careful. That's really satisfying. But if you still need to worry about not losing a single hit point, then that stress doesn't let up, even at the end of the boss, you know?
Do I have...
That is fair. That is fair.
Why did he not... He didn't generate anything.
Yeah, not all of them start with attacks.
Hit you with a lot of stuff to begin with. Okay.
Gives you an opportunity. It's a heavy axe.
Yeah.
Ooh, we got
I guess
mixed,
so there's 3.
mixed tiles there. That's interesting.
Okay.
That's a kind of twist that's like, oh, of course you'd do that, but it actually still got me by surprise, so kudos to that. A simple twist there.
Yeah, not only do you have the different combos that you have to break through, your cards now have both, whereas in the last level it was you had circle cards and you had triangle cards, and this one you have triangle circle cards.
Oh, Dale, you had an attack that would do at least 4. Oh, I guess you still do.
It's a free card.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
And move it. Not all of them move them forward.
That's a thing that I'm just from watching. I'm not fully getting the
Yes.
time mechanic. I imagine, Dale, as you play, does that become a lot clearer to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so. Oh. Alright. Oh, wow, you have 40 hit parts. All I have is my little loot.
Does the time it takes to transition between fights feel okay?
Yes. Okay. That feels like this should be the first card.
Ooh.
Well, that's a thing.
I think something just broke in half. I saw this once. I don't know what causes that. I think this might have broken the game.
I think what happened there, I'm just taking a wild guess, is that some animation triggers happened out of order, because so many things were happening in that those frames. So it might have been that whatever trigger to delete something or to move it further, the sort of end of attack trigger might have happened before and then stop the animator.
Okay, so last time this happened, this did break the game, but it broke the game after the fight. So you might actually still be able to beat this game.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Convenient, but-
now hit him with a square.
Just for fun.
Yeah, so this is one of those, another one of those
Square.
situations of you don't have cards that
Oh,
draw you
no.
cards.
Okay.
Oh, Dale, you got too excited about that square.
I was very excited about that square, that's true. Okay. Okay. Okay, do it up. Okay. This is what we're doing.
It's pretty good use of limited options.
Okay. This one down, because I'll get rid of 2 for free as far as timing goes, and then okay, up. Okay. This just has more, so I'm gonna go with that.
Unfortunately, you lose a lot of circles in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this has a bunch of circles. That seems right to do now. Okay. Now
And then just go for it.
down.
And hope
Okay.
that things line up. Okay.
Yeah, that should line up, right?
Oh, dang, yeah.
Evan was mentioning that he hated the just the generic shapes. Definitely an improvement over the swords and shields, but he wants it to be something else, and I didn't really get it. But now that we're talking about this and saying, triangle, circle so much, I do
Yeah.
I do start feeling that. I'm feeling that a little bit.
Yeah, you want them to be. I mean, this isn't always necessary, but it is very helpful when players can have easy terms for things that are very specific. And it just so happens that circle, triangle, square, like they are simple words, but they're actually words we don't use that often, frankly, compared to say, A, B, like those kinds of easy symbols. or numbers, and which are obviously I would say perhaps worse as an option for you here, but make it easier to sort of communicate. So you kind of want something that does both, that feels creative and deliberate, but also is people can just rattle them off to each other, because this game has a lot of them. We had a suggestion earlier, and it's coming up again, sort of fire, water, kind of fantasy elements.
Okay.
Sort of the airbender list.
The issue I have with those is that's the same as the sword and the shield problem of does water hit water?
Yeah,
what happens when water hits fire? I don't want things that interact with each other.
They have their own sort of metaphors that they bring to the table that you don't want to contradict. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Well done, Dale.
Yay!
Well, we're heading. We're past 8. We're 8:45 now, so I'd say we're about ready to call it a night. But let's do some final thoughts before we do that on this game. Dale?
It was fun. Yeah, it definitely took a little bit. I can't show you now. Here, let's go back to the main menu. Does that do things? Does that do new game?
Nope, you've broken it in half.
Yeah. Here, I got it.
Oh,
let me have the mouse, Dale, and I'll take care of it.
Fight Caesar there. I was gonna say there is a a space right under the card name that's not really being used for anything right now. Do you have plans for that?
Yeah, so with more complicated effects, in similar to Slay the Spire's artifacts system, instead of giving artifacts to a player altogether, you're going to slot it into cards, so you only get those powerful effects in those cards. And that one has 3 artifact slots. There are none in the game. They don't do anything, so right now it is just empty dead space on the card. But eventually...
Mark, are you playing now?
Yeah, just as you do your final thoughts.
Oh, I was trying to point stuff out, and then the card kept disappearing from my mouth. So,
okay.
These 3 diamond spaces. That's what.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to make a suggestion that I think is a bad suggestion, which is instead of the clocks, it might make sense to have cranks as the symbol. But I don't know how well that will translate into pixel art and then make
I don't know what
understand.
that would look like.
Yeah.
Clock isn't great for this either, but it is hard to symbolize the enemy taking a turn. This is something I've kind of struggled with, and you are right. Yeah, it's not
perfect.
Obvious.
But my next suggestion would be.
Oh no. I got a bad map.
Yeah. Would be a crank, because that makes sense, because that's what's actually happening in the animations. Yep. What else? I definitely like the symbols, even though triangle is a very long word to say. You're not usually going to be talking about it when you're playing, so it makes sense visually, so I wouldn't worry about that. Yeah.
Well, I will say, having watched 2 players run through it, I feel very... I feel like there's nothing for me to learn. I already know how it all works, which is really what you want from a game like this.
Yeah, no, that's definitely good to hear. At the very least, we want to start from a very readable base. As with roguelikes, we're gonna add as much wild items and modifiers as we can. Hopefully, keeping those as artifacts and stuff to try and keep that main card readability up. I don't want that to be just a pile of symbols that are really hard to parse.
Yeah.
But that's gonna be a constant fight.
you have any examples of what those artifacts might be?
Yeah. So like it could say pretty much it's going to be effects for when the card is either in your hand or is discarded or is played. So it might say like every time you play a triangle, play another triangle, or if this card has plays 12 notes or at least 12 notes, clear the board. Or if this card is discarded, gain 10 gold. Gold is something that you're going to be able to spend on cards instead of turns with certain cards. It's not in this demo, really. You can see the little gold counter on the corner, but it will also be able to take out for meta progression. And or like on when this card is drawn, automatically play it. Like there'll be like different rarities, so some of those are like obviously unreasonably powerful and like could but like that's kind of the point of like you can get really powerful artifacts that you can only play in one card, and lets us like have really rare artifacts so you can have a couple of super strong cards that make a deck.
A lot of the time, if you don't mind me making another comment, in like Slay the Spires, other deck builders, it's not single strong cards that make a deck, but it's the synergies between the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that there's not a whole lot of that going on right now.
Nope, and there probably isn't going to be. It's definitely focused on synergies between the notes in a card, and you're going to have a lot more control over where those notes go and what order they play in, and like which ones are in a card. I don't know how to make like synergy types work in something like this. I don't envision that's the direction our design really can easily go in.
Well, I'll stop my playthrough. I will say I absolutely learned nothing new in my playthrough that I didn't from watching the others, which is a really good sign. I felt like I knew how to play it. I did. It was very satisfying. It's fun as hell. The loop is very tight.
Yeah. Yep.
And I like there are so many pieces missing that you described earlier, but they're all things that will just make this thing sing. I mean, in some cases, literally. The core is really, really strong. I think we sort of identified a couple of the really tricky bits that we all had to sort of like work through. But even in this state, super worth it. It's super fun. Like that sense of progress and the added complexity that comes step by step, even the overworld, as simple as it is, working your way towards the boss, being getting stopped every so often by an enemy. You could make that more interesting and more complicated, but like as that feeling of going to the map, making some progress, having a fight, going to the map, making further progress, like all of that is really, really good. The game has a narrative flow to it, like a rising action kind of thing. And it's not fully predictable, even though you as the player have a ton of control over the outcome. So it doesn't feel rote, which it can easily be. Yeah, just great.
Here's another suggestion. So once you fight a boss, there should be like an actual staircase behind them, and that's why you're going to another level.
Yeah. Are you going deeper into the dungeon, or are you climbing out of the dungeon? right?
There
Uh-huh.
is a
Or is
there is
it-
a staircase behind them. You just
Is there?
don't see the boss behind you in the new level. It's a little confusing spatially, but
Yeah.
there is a staircase behind him.
I
It's,
getcha.
I want to know if
Okay.
this bard is lost or if this bard is foolhardy. Do you know what I mean? Like, are they trying to make the way home, or are they trying to get down to the deepest depths?
I would like to know that. I would like to know that too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with foolhardy.
Yeah?
He's gotta get some material to write some songs about.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You got to write what you know, and if you don't know the adventuring life, how can you be a hit songmaker, right?
Right.
So you know, grab that 5 string and go down the depths. Yeah. Like I now imagine this character as not just foolhardy, but like sort of optimistic. Like, I'm gonna go fight monsters. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
totally unprepared. Does well through. I mean, kind of a Mr. Bean, Mr. Magoo type almost, where just like, by all rights, should be flattened immediately, but is somehow getting through just fine. You know.
I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say the chat definitely liked the names of the silly enemies.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them are very good.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the chat. Thanks, Zach and Zach, our playtesters.
Thank you.
Anything final to say? Or are we about ready to wrap it up, Mark?
Well, I would say let's give both our Zachs, because our playtester Zach stuck through even when you and I played. Let's give him some final words, and then Dale will do your classic outro. So we'll give you a chance to do that in a second. Playtester Zach, anything else to say?
Well, I mean, no, not anything else. It was a fantastic game, and I appreciate you guys letting me hang out with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Super appreciate you playing through that. This has been very, very helpful.
Cool.
Good. That's what playtest is for.
Thanks to Trevor, of course, for bringing in the Moirah's Manor earlier. That was a blast as well.
It was.
All right, and as
Fantastic
we close out,
Jam entry.
Dale, you get to close us out before we pull the cord. What are your final words for tonight's broadcast?
I am a bard. I am brilliant. This is what I do. He grunts. I tell stories. He mentions a